Conference Championship weekend is upon us. All of this weekend's Conference Championship games are predicted right here on Johnny Talk Sports. So I decided to give the Group of Five some love this week, predicting all the Group of Five games. As far as the Group of Five is, people tend to not really care as much as the Group of Five, or they may not know as much about the Group of Five as they do Alabama and Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame. But all of the Conference Championship games are predicted right here on Johnny Talk Sports. But before I get to that, I am going to do another Johnny Talk Sports Bull Mania Bash this year, and I'm hoping to get at least 30 to 35 people in there. That's kind of the goal. If we can get somewhere more than 40 people, that would be amazing. But my goal is to get at least 30 to 35 people to start off with. Because the more people that enter in this, the more fun it is and the more it is to keep up with it. But for those of you that don't know about the Bull Mania Bash that I've done the last couple of years, it is confidence points. So not only do you have to know who's going to win the particular bowl game, like for example, let's just say the Capital One Bowls between LSU and let's just say Iowa. Let's just say that's a bowl game. And if you think LSU is going to win, you got to pick LSU, but you also have to range it in confidence. And I think the highest one is going to be 40 or 41. So if you predicted up to 41, that means you're very confident in that pick. But if you take it down to 1, that means it's your least confident pick. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're confident in a team, put more points on it. And if you're not confident, then put the least amount of points on it. So I think there's going to be, I think it goes up to 41 or 40, maybe. I know it's at least 40 or 41. Maybe it's 42, I don't know. But we'll talk about it more when we get to it. I'll have one more preview to it. Like, I'll talk about it one more time after the bowl games are set. So once again, I'll announce it again next week. So for those that kind of want to get an early entry in there to get yourself signed up for the bowl games are announced, go ahead and click the link in the description down below. It requires an ESPN account. And if you don't have one, you got to create one. It only takes about less than 2 minutes. I promise you it's nothing more than 2 minutes. And pick the bowl games when they come out and rate them in confidence, and we will see who wins. It's going to be fun. It's been fun the last couple of years. Let's try to get 30 to 35 people in there. If you want to get your friends to join, go ahead and let them join. So anyway, let's get back to the main point of this video, and that's the Conference Championship picks. So we're going to start off with the MAC Championship between Northern Illinois and Buffalo. And this is a very complicated one to pick, because I'm picking Buffalo because I don't really know much about these two teams throughout the season, but I've heard some positive things about Buffalo more than I've heard positive things about Northern Illinois. So I'm going to pick Buffalo on this one. Next, the Conference USA Championship between UAB and Middle Tennessee. Now, these two teams just played each other last week, and Middle Tennessee pulled off a dominant victory. But it is hard to beat teams twice in the same season, but I think Middle Tennessee does it. It's been a good season for UAB so far. It's been pretty solid. UAB didn't even have a football program around this time 2 years ago. So it's really outstanding to see what this program has done. Just the comeback of UAB. In UAB, they are bowl eligible, and I'm going to root for whatever bowl game they're in, depending on who they play against. Which I think everybody can root for UAB. But I think Middle Tennessee will win this game. Next, we got the Sun Belt Championship between Louisiana Lafayette versus Appalachian State. Now, Louisiana Lafayette, they have had some pretty solid football teams throughout this recent decade. But Appalachian State, they were competitive against Penn State, almost beat Penn State. I'm going to pick Appalachian State because, kind of again, with my lack of knowledge, but the only knowledge I have is that Appalachian State took Penn State to the wire in week 1. So I'm pretty much basing that pick off of that. And I'm probably going to base some of these bowl picks along with it as well, because a lot of these group of 5 teams play each other in bowl games. So I'll probably base some of my bowl picks on that as well. Next up, the Mountain West Championship between Fresno State and Boise State. Now, these two teams played each other earlier in the season, and Boise State came out on top. And I think Boise State comes out on top again. I just feel like Boise State, they're kind of an underrated team in college football. I mean, Fresno State has done pretty well this season, but again, my knowledge is more on the Boise State side than the Fresno State side. And these are where we get to these big ones, the ones that everybody has tuned into this video for. The American Athletic Conference, their championship game between Memphis and UCF. UCF's quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, went down. He's done for the season and for his career at UCF. The backup quarterback is in. And these two teams played each other, I believe it was in October, if I remember. And Memphis, they seem to dominate the game early on. But UCF, they want to get in that playoff. However, I think Memphis is going to pull off the upset this time. I mean, Mackenzie Milton was a part of the UCF offense all season long. And I think Memphis comes out on top this time. I think it's going to be a back and forth type of game. It seems like whenever these two teams play each other, it's back and forth. But I think Memphis wins, and they avenge their loss to UCF early in the season, and they spoil UCF's chances of getting even a legitimate shot, maybe if any shot at all, to get in the college football playoff if madness happens later on in the day. And maybe it could eliminate UCF's chances of being in a New Year's Six game. That could end up going to the winner of Fresno State and Boise State. So Memphis can spoil the party for UCF and end the winning streak. Next, we got the Pac-12 championship between Utah and Washington. And Washington has underachieved this season. In fact, you can consider Washington to be one of the disappointments in college football. There's been a handful of them in college football this season, and Washington is toward the top of the list, if not at the very top. Washington, a lot of people said back in the summertime, back before the rankings came out, that Washington had an easy schedule after Auburn. If they made it past Auburn, they could have an easy road to the college football playoff. But Washington's lost to Auburn. Could that have been a season breaker before it even began? Washington, they started to win some games, but then they lost to Oregon in overtime in a heartbreaker. The kicker missed the game-winning field goal at the end of regulation. Ended up losing to Cal, and Jake Browning even got benched in that game. And I've been saying ever since Washington made the college football playoff that Jake Browning is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football. And I still think that, but he got benched early in the season against Cal. He really struggled in that game. But Washington, I think they've got momentum after winning that Apple Cup against Washington State and spoiling the Pac-12's playoff hopes. And I think Washington wins this one. And a spot in the Rose Bowl is on the line in this one. I think Washington wins this and clinches their spot in the Rose Bowl. Next, we have the ACC Championship game between Pittsburgh and Clemson. Pittsburgh, they're not a team to mess with. They competed with Notre Dame pretty well. If maybe one or two things go differently, maybe they pull off the upset against the Irish. But Clemson, I just think that Clemson is the only team in the country that can match up with Alabama. Some can say that Georgia could match up with them. They could have a chance to beat them. But I think Clemson's the only team in college football with the depth to keep up with Alabama. You could say that Oklahoma's offense could keep up with Alabama. You could say that Georgia's defense and their running game could keep up with Alabama. But I think Clemson overall can keep up with Alabama. I think they're the only team in college football that has a chance against Alabama, in my opinion. I'm going to pick Clemson to win this one against Pittsburgh, probably convincingly. I think maybe Pittsburgh shows a little bit of life in the first couple minutes of the game, but then Clemson becomes Clemson. And I think Clemson ends up winning by kind of a ridiculous score, like maybe 52-6 or something like that. And Clemson will solidify their spot in the college football playoff. Next, we have the Big Ten Championship game, Northwestern versus Ohio State. Northwestern, they really struggled to start the season. In fact, I think they started off 2-3. And then ever since that, they've piled up win after win after win. They had a chance to pull off an upset against Notre Dame, but they couldn't get it done. Northwestern has played better football. They're kind of peaking at the right time right now. But Ohio State is also peaking. Ohio State knows what's up for grabs. Maybe, if craziness happens, a spot in the college football playoff. If not, a spot in the Rose Bowl's on the line in this one to play the winner of the Pac-12 championship. But how I see this game, Northwestern is going to bring their A game in this one. Senior leadership, Clayton Thorson at quarterback. What a way for him to go out in his Northwestern career by playing in the Rose Bowl. And for Ohio State, after everything they've been through this season, with the Urban Meyer scandal, with the whole domestic violence scandal, and losing to Purdue, getting blown out, coming back to win these games in convincing fashion, and struggling against Nebraska, struggling against Maryland, struggling a lot against Minnesota. What kind of way? Like, how big would this be for Ohio State to end the season with a spot in the, not only in the Rose Bowl, maybe if Oklahoma loses, maybe the college football playoff. And I think Ohio State gets it done. The question is, how much do they win it by? Do they win it 21-17 like they did last year, or do they win it 59-0 like they did against Wisconsin the year they stuck in the college football playoff? It's going to be interesting to see that one, but I think Ohio State comes out on top. I think Northwestern brings their A game, but I think they're going to fall just short. I mean, for me personally, I would love to see Northwestern in the Rose Bowl, kind of see someone like Clayton Thorson, after everything he's given to the Northwestern program, end his career in the Rose Bowl. That'd be a sight to see. You know, if Northwestern wins, I'll be ecstatic for Clayton Thorson, but I don't think they do. I don't think they pull this off. I think Ohio State will win this one, but I don't know by how much. Next, we have the Big 12 championship game between Texas and Oklahoma. This is a rematch, the Red River Rivalry Part 2. This time for a Big 12 championship for Oklahoma. Potentially a spot in the college football playoff, depending on what the committee thinks. So Oklahoma knows what they have to play for. Oklahoma, if they win, there could be a chance they get in, but there could also be a chance they don't get in. So not only does Oklahoma need to win, but maybe win it in convincing fashion, because they have a chance to avenge their one loss of the season. The way I saw it is, if you didn't see my college football playoff ranking that I did on the board behind me, that I posted a little bit earlier, I said that if Oklahoma did beat Texas, would it be enough to solidify a spot in the college football playoff? Because since Texas is Oklahoma's only loss, then they beat them to win the conference championship. Does that one loss get null and void? I said that it probably does get null and void. That's at least what I would do. So depending on what happens in the Big Ten championship, maybe the SEC championship, what happens here? Oklahoma knows they have to play for a spot in the college football playoff. They know that's at stake. If you're Lincoln Riley, you've got to let your team know. And even Kyler Murray, you got to let him know as well. You got to let the whole team know that you got to know what's at stake. You got to tell them that a spot in the college football playoff is at stake. No matter what you think of the committee and what you don't think of it, you got to give them the mentality that that's what's at stake. And I think that's what happens. But Texas, what if they beat them again? This could be a huge spoiler for Texas, to lock yourselves in a New Year's Six game and to spoil Oklahoma's chances to your rival, spoil a chance for them to compete in the college football playoff. I think this game comes down to the wire again. I think this is a game where it's going to be an offensive battle. I think there's going to be a lack of defense. You could say Texas has the edge on defense. However, I think Oklahoma has the best player on the field in this game in Kyler Murray. I think Oklahoma wins this one in a shootout. I'm going to say that Oklahoma wins in a shootout. I'm going to say I think it's going to be something like the West Virginia game, except maybe a little bit less points. I'm going to say 55-49. I think it's that type of game. But Oklahoma's defense will have to make a stop on this one. And I think they make one stop to win this game and to possibly solidify your chance in the college football playoff. And finally, the SEC championship game. The one conference championship game that everybody is talking about. Alabama and Georgia. A rematch of last year's national championship game. And this one's going to be exciting. A lot of hard hits in this one. And Alabama is already, I think it's an 11.5 or 12-point favorite in this one. Does Georgia have a chance in this game? I think they do. But how Georgia has to win this game is they've got to get the running game going. Because Alabama struggled stopping the run against Citadel. You've got to run the football on them. And a big key for Georgia in this one is if you win the coin toss, go on ahead and take the ball to start the game. Try to set the tone for this matchup. Even if you only if you get a 3 and out, just you got to assess what's going to happen in this game. A 3 and out would not be a bad thing. A lot of teams would be lucky to start off with a punt against Alabama. Or if you want to get one, or if you get one first down and then you have to punt it, then that's okay as well. Because it's showing Alabama that you're able to move the football. Because if you aren't able to move the football early against Alabama, you're going to be in for a long afternoon. Because Alabama's going to pounce on that. Because Alabama, they can score in a hurry. Georgia's got the running game. Jake Fromm has really improved ever since last season. In fact, Georgia, they had that national championship in the bag, but they let it slip away from them. The question is, will Georgia still be in this game in the fourth quarter? Because you got to have a chance against Alabama, you've got to still be in it in the fourth quarter. And I think Georgia can stay in there in the fourth quarter. However, this is a game where I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to have a Heisman moment. Because he's the favorite right now for the Heisman Trophy. But in my opinion, he doesn't have a Heisman moment yet. But I think he gets it this week. Especially if he has to go down the field and win a national champion, and win a spot in the college football playoff automatically. Because some would say that if Alabama lost this game, they'd still get in the playoff. However, Alabama has had it easy so far. They've beaten every single opponent by more than 20 points. Only the second team to do it in college football history, with the other one being Yale back in 1888. So this might be the game that Alabama has to play all 4 quarters. This could be the game that Nick Saban has to tell Tua Tagovailoa, you have to win this game for us. You have to go down the field and score the game-winning touchdown. And it could be a game like that, where Tua throws the game-winning touchdown pass with maybe less than 2 minutes left. It could be a game like that. But I think Alabama gets the win here. The question is, will they blow out Georgia? I want to say that I don't think so, but based on how Alabama's been this season, I think it does turn into a blowout. I mean, I would hope for the drama and excitement and for the TV ratings that it's not a blowout, but I'm worried that it will. I'm not going to say whether it is or is not. Because if I say that it will be, then Georgia may end up pulling off the upset. But if I say it's going to be close, then Alabama's going to dominate. So I'm just going to flat out say that I think Alabama's going to win this game. And those are my conference championship picks. Recap, the MAC championship I have going to Buffalo. Conference USA I have going to Middle Tennessee. Sun Belt, Appalachian State. Mountain West, Boise State. American Athletic Conference, Memphis pulling off the upset against UCF, ending the winning streak. Pac-12 championship, Washington. ACC championship, Clemson. Big Ten championship, Ohio State. Big 12 championship, Oklahoma. And the SEC championship, Alabama. So those are my conference championship predictions. Comment your picks down below. Also like, share, and subscribe. And join the Bowl Mania group. I'm going to put the link of that in the description down below so you can join and make some picks for the bowl season and have some fun. Kind of makes watching the bowl games a lot more fun, knowing that you're in a contest. So I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.